Sorry.
Hi, Alex.
Hey, Alex.
Hi, Lee.
Hi, Lee.
Hey guys. Hi.
Dana, Leilani. Hi, guys. Can't see you yet. There you are.
Hey.
Hi guys. That's Koa.
Oh,
Am I missing seeing a dog?
no, it was another child. Another kiddo.
Oh.
That was my boy with his long, messy hair. He looks a little like a dog.
Oh, look at that kitty.
Yes.
Oh, it's a
That's our new
baby.
No.
All right, we're live for our last session together. However, we have one more wrap-up session. It's going to be next Wednesday with Mo herself. So I'm going to post after this on Facebook and asking for some of your questions for her, your ahas and takeaways. And I also want you to be prepared, especially for those of us that have been through the whole study, maybe just missed one or two sessions, to maybe share with her some of how it's impacted us. So welcome. I'm here with my team leader, Stephanie. Stephanie is, maybe I should let someone else introduce her so I just don't start crying.
Oh.
Stephanie is the epitome of what a team leader is supposed to be. And our relationship really started back in 2016 when she paid my office bill of $50-something because I literally couldn't afford it. And she saw something in me. And since then, we've just had a relationship where we speak life into each other and bring out the best. So Stephanie, thank you for coming.
Missy, thank you. And, you know, I just want to say I was so tickled for when Heather texted me and said, would you like to be on the last one? And I was thrilled because, you know, this chapter really resonated with me. But before we even go there, I would just like to say, you know, Missy, she was one of the first real true connections I made because I was a new team leader moving from another office into this office. And being able to bring what I had learned being a team leader for 5 years here and knowing and being able to identify and seeing talent emerging, right? You know, it's like we don't just wake up and all of a sudden we're doing really well. We have a big team and we're just all good and everything's handy and everything's right there in place. You know, we stumble a little bit and we're trying to find our legs, and Missy and Steve officed right next door to me, and it was pretty cool. I loved having them as a neighbor, but you know, I knew she had it. She didn't know she had it, right? So when you have an opportunity that someone steps into your life and there's a small gesture or a large, whatever the gesture is that you can make to tell them you've got it. See, because I believed in her more than she did at the time. And because of that, we've had this, just this incredible relationship. And at some point, this is when it really gets good, at some point they pass you, right? And Missy has done that. And so I grab her and I go to her for guidance and strength. And we love spending time together early mornings at our favorite breakfast place, and we solve the world problems. And sometimes it's just, I got to change how I'm thinking about this. Or what can I do different? And being respectful enough of each other that we tell the truth. We tell the truth.
Not always easy to hear either, is it?
No, but it's without judgment.
Yeah.
We tell the truth, and it's been a blessing. And I just love you so much, and I'm so proud of watching you build this.
Well, isn't it interesting that you came into my life at exactly the right time, and today we're talking about connecting the dots. I promise that wasn't planned or prepared.
Yeah.
So.
Go ahead.
I know you don't need me to guide you in any discussion. She can talk for 30 minutes, you guys.
I can talk forever.
I'm
a team leader. That's what we do. No.
So with Connect the Dots, here we're kind of pulling together all of this joy-filled life and reflecting on the journey that made Mo Anderson the Mo that we know and love, and that has become a pinnacle leader in our lives. So Stephanie, what are some of your thoughts on connecting the dots? And one thing that I've learned a lot in my spiritual life, there were times where, like with Lee last week and her topic of being tested, you think, man, I have no idea how this is going to work out. And so you think about, okay, and all the times that I was afraid, I didn't know how something was going to go, I didn't know how something ended. I can look back when there's some beautiful eloquent saying, and I'm totally going to mess it up here. When you can't see what God is doing in the future, look back and trace his hand in your past. And it's that same concept. So.
Well, when I started giving more thought to this conversation today, I've got a few things that it just really is apparent. Now, it was not apparent at the time, as it very rarely is. If you're reading through Mo's book, you don't know. All of a sudden, you're at a crossroads, or life has shifted, a change has come into place. And, fear comes in, and do I do this or do I do this? And I'll share with you, I had been in a career for about 20 years, and I did well. I lived in San Diego, did extremely well, and then got recruited to Chicago to do the same thing, and did well there. And it was, first of all, moving from San Diego to Chicago, it's really hard. It's really cold. And it was right after 9/11. And I don't know about you, but the bigger cities had a lot of fear around being next with 9/11. And Chicago was that. And it was frightening. But it also, that whole thing made me think about, you kind of go inward. And, thoughts of, am I doing what I love? I have a great job. I'm 6 figures. I've got a good life, but am I doing what I love? And now, for years, my father had retired. I was a Navy brat, and my father retired after 32 years in the Navy, and retired in Albuquerque, New Mexico, of all places, which he's lived on an ocean his entire life because he's on submarines. And I thought for sure he'd want to be near an ocean. He picked the desert. And so he called, we were very close, and he would call me often. And every single time we hung up the phone, he said, come to Albuquerque, sell some real estate with me. Yeah. But I watched his success, and he was old school, back in those days. And finally, so 9/11 happened. It was in December that the uneasy, that the dissettled inside of me was like, I'm seeking something. Didn't really know that was just an uncomfortableness of what may come. And I called him, and he asked that question. And I said, well, Dad, I just might do that. And he was like, what? So I loaded up, and I moved to Albuquerque. My husband was in Chicago. He had a company to sell, and so I moved to Albuquerque, moved in with Dad until my husband got here so we could get our house and all that. And 2 days later, I was in real estate school. 2 days later. So now here I am in a town that I've only visited, Christmas time, and I knew how to get from the airport to Dad's, so I didn't know the town at all, and I didn't know anybody but my dad. And I started my real estate business. It was 2 full weeks, 8 to 5 in real estate school, and I got my license. Bam, get out there and do it. And my father's way of teaching me was, come on, just follow me. Just follow me around. Didn't say anything like you need to prospect. I never even heard the term lead generate. I didn't know. Database? What's that? All those things. And so, but that was my start. And because I was just absolutely determined to succeed, right? You push through, but fear came into play. And I can't tell you how many times I said, maybe this was a mistake. Maybe this was a mistake. And I started getting some business and started building a business and said, okay, now I'm finally having some income, some decent income, and I can support my family, and life is good. About 2007, I started getting a call. There was a team leader at Keller Williams in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Her name was Tina Eberly, and she called me, I mean, every 30 days. It was like clockwork. Stephanie. And all I'd say is, I'm not leaving my dad. It's my dad. But she was on it. And then in 2008, everybody remembers, if you were in real estate, 2008, what happened. And Keller Williams invited me. One of my best buddies is still a Keller Williams agent in Las Vegas. And she invited me. She said, Gary Keller wrote this book called Shift. And we're doing a book study. Perhaps you want to join us. I'm like, what? Why would they let me come? Oh, we open this up to everybody. So I got to be a part of that. And I started getting these thoughts like, they know something over there that I don't know. And so the calls were more frequent. Stephanie. This is where the thoughts start coming into play. And I'll try to do this with a dry eye. It was in April of 2010 that I lost my father. He had cancer, and it was fast and progressive. And when I was at his services, we were at the church, and I turned around, and there's all these people from Keller Williams there.
Stephanie, stop it.
I mean, come on.
You've got a bunch of empaths on this call.
I'm telling you, it was so moving. And then a couple of weeks later, Tina Eberly, that team leader, called me, and she said, how you doing? And she said, I know your dad was an incredible real estate agent, an incredible businessman. And if you need any help running that business, I'm here to help you. And there were many times I called her. I'm like, okay, I'm in these QuickBooks and I'm doing all this stuff. And you know, I'd been the broker and I understood things, but Tina was right there to help me. And in 2011, it seemed like a really good idea to move my people and my whole office over to Keller Williams. And some agents came, some didn't. But as we were kind of going through that, they had me do this thing called Recruit Select. And Tina came and said, I have been looking for my replacement for 4 years, and there you are. So that's how I became a team leader. Now, the thing is, moving to Keller Williams has changed me, okay? What you can't, if I could cut open my inside and go like this, you would see a different person. This is a different person. And so Diana Kokoska, I sent her a text about a week ago because I said, you told me when I met you one of the first times that it's not what you do, it's who you become. When you come to Keller Williams, it's the person you become. And I'm like, and I have that, I've arrived. Now, I'm not done. I just know I'm not done yet. So that's kind of the first dots. And I know if my father was still alive, I never would have gotten here. So something so utterly painful and challenging, that happened. And I clean my own house, okay? I don't leverage that out. And I dust, and I have a picture of my father, and I dust it every weekend. And I always am talking to him. And I tell him regularly, you did this for me. You may not have known it, but you did this for me. Because now look at me. And I say, I hope you're proud. And you know what? I know my dad well, and he would have been. He would have been. And so, you know, those are dots that are connected, and they're all through my life. You know, things that of growing up younger, and things that have happened, and you know, twists and turns and all that. God's hands in all of it, in every bit of it. And then the last piece of this is very interesting. Once my father passed away, I had no other family in New Mexico, and my husband kept saying, "Why are we still here? Why are we still here?" And all I could think of is, I have a great job. I love my market center. I love my people. We took a market center at 117 agents and took it to 248 in a short period of time. And I loved it. And you can go the other way too, where it's all you do. And I realized that that's not all life is about. So we made the decision to try to move to Oklahoma. And so I put my feelers out, and I called Sherry Lewis, our regional director, who I had been stalking for the previous 2 or 3 years. I wanted to make sure she knew who I was. So when I called her, I knew the time would come that I was going to be doing this. And so I called her and said, I've already talked to my OP here, and he knows that I'm going to be looking for an opportunity in Oklahoma. And she said, okay, fantastic. And, you know, she says, well, I don't have anything. I said, I need Norman. She goes, I don't have anything in Norman. And I said, okay, I'm not in a hurry. She goes, how about Tulsa? I could put you in Tulsa right now. I said, nope, I need Norman. She goes, oh, no, how about Oklahoma City? I said, you know what? My mom's in Norman. I really kind of need Norman. And it was probably 4 or 5 weeks later that she called me and she goes, you are not going to believe this. Don't you love it when people say that? You're not going to believe this. And I say that's God's hand. The wonderful team leader here had made the decision to go back into production. That was not expected. No one, anything. So Peggy Wright, an incredible team leader, is still here. She's our broker, and she and her husband are in business, doing an incredible business. And I had the opportunity to come to Norman. So that's just another thought. I never see, and the reason I came here is my mom's here. My mom is 80 years old, and she's aging. Really funny is I went to high school here. I spent 3 years in Norman a long time ago in high school. And my family was here, my sisters and my mom, and I left. I was 17 years old, graduated from high school, and beelined it back to California. And but my mom and everybody stayed. So so now I have a deeper purpose, not just to help people in my market center and the people in my life, but to be a caretaker for my mom and give back to her what she gave to me. And see, if I had not have been with Keller Williams, I probably would not have gotten this role, probably would not have moved back. You know, everything is connected. And if you take the worksheet, you know, that up for each of these lessons and start diagramming, just start diagramming your life. It's amazing. And what that does is now gives me hope for future. I'm not done. I keep telling God that I'm not done yet. So
Amazing.
Anyway, that's my story.
Incredible. Well, I mean, how does anyone have anything to say after that? Dana writes, so true. I lost my mom just a few months after starting KW, and I couldn't believe the outpouring of love and support. Then a few months later, my husband had his brain injury. I don't think I could have gotten through that year without my KW family. It's those things that make KW different. Love the culture.
Absolutely.
By the way, little announcement, Alex officially signed yesterday, and she is now in Stephanie's Market Center.
Woohoo!
Stephanie over there doing what she loves.
What's that?
I said, Stephanie over there doing what she loves.
I know.
Yeah. So
yeah. Thank you so much. I am so happy that I had the pleasure of meeting Stephanie yesterday.
Finally.
I know. It felt like I had already known you. So it was like meeting an old friend, it felt like. It was really
awesome.
nice. And we had a great conversation about a lot. And you answered all of my questions. You're so knowledgeable. And it was so nice to be able to hear everything from you face to face. And I was really looking forward to meeting Missy. I know that you were out of the office yesterday, but I'm hoping that soon we can get together so that I can meet you also in person.
We will. Had I known you were there, I would have come up. Like I found out right before you were coming up there.
It was a
Probably
secret.
should have let you know. I wasn't thinking.
That's
She
all
got to
right.
meet Brooke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brooke is, my ops people are really, like, you don't need to know me. They're better than me. Next time that we have a live event at Keller Williams, like a family reunion or mega camp, you know, whichever one's next, we know not mega camp. I have said, and I'm actually going to do it, that I'm going to get Heather a shirt. Steve and me and Heather are all going to wear shirts, and our shirts, Steve's and mine, are going to say, I don't know, ask Heather, and hers is just going to say, I'm Heather. Because, you know, people come up, hey, tell me about your this or that, and I'm just like. So, guys, we've got a couple more minutes. Vicki, you didn't hear at the beginning, but Mo is going to be with us on Wednesday. So, yeah, Wednesday, July 1st. So come in and bring your kind of ahas and takeaways, and definitely also gratitude and appreciation that we can share back with Mo. What kind of comments, takeaways, ahas? Guys, we did it. Chapter 20.
Woo.
I do want to real quick mention about this chapter, the connecting the dots. I feel like my connecting of the dots has just began, just began, whatever. So I have a long-term friend, Jessica Harris, and her and I have known each other for a very long time. And she sometimes watches my kids, and we do a lot of things together. She went into real estate a couple of years ago, and she realized it wasn't necessarily for her. But knowing that she had that already under her belt, that she had already gone through everything, I knew that she was going to be the person for me to talk to about who I should go with. And so Jessie is actually the one who got me in touch with Missy. And I had a virtual visit with her. And after that virtual visit, I just hands down knew who I wanted to go with. And I've been here ever since. And then this book club, the Connecting the Dots, it just seemed so fitting for me to be a part of this book club, because it really has showed me how successful you can be. And all of the speakers, the guest speakers, and everyone that I have had the joy of speaking with or listening to, it's just been so uplifting. And I thank you, Missy, again for putting this all together and inviting me to be a part of it.
Well, it delights me. So you know how people just find great joy, like you can see a golden retriever retrieving a ball and you think, man, that's so pretty, that's what they were born to do. I like connecting. So nothing makes me happier than to like watch you having a conversation with Mo, and I'm just over here going,
Right.
I know, like, oh. So I'm glad. So Stephanie, we've got about 5 minutes left. I'm a little sad by that, and also excited.
So the other piece that that I didn't even mention, which I really probably should because it was so important. I at the office I was at previously, it was a big office, and there was a lot of money, and the leadership there believed that you needed to really educate. And I was so fortunate because I got to Keller Williams, I knew nothing. I never sold a house at Keller Williams, so I knew none of the systems. I knew none of the models. I knew nothing. So they sent me off to Austin regularly to train and grow and learn. I have flown all over the United States to various training events. I went, I did all of it early on because they wanted me to learn and grow and know. So, Mo Anderson, I could see her from afar live once in a while, right? And, but Mo, well, yeah, Mo is Mo. And when I came to Oklahoma, it was probably, I may have shared this here, I was probably here like 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. And we had an agent here that was president of the YP, the Young Professionals group. And she said, we're doing an event at Mo's house. Do you want to come? What? I mean, it was like, oh my God, yes. So I'm driving to Edmond, and the whole time I'm on my phone with all of my friends in New Mexico saying, you will not believe where I'm going. I would just call me, you're never going to believe where I'm going. I'm going to Mo's house. I'm going to Mo's house. And, to get there and to be so, her home is absolutely stunning, beautiful, elegant. And yet it is so comfortable when you walk in, isn't it, Missy? You walk in and it doesn't feel stuffy. It's just so comfortable. And after several times there, at one point we took the ALC up for lunch, to have lunch at her home. And, you know, I knew I had arrived because she opens the door and she's like, come on in, everybody. Stephanie, go show them around. And I was like, you know,
Okay.
and I mean, Mo has had such an impact on my life, such an impact. And had I not gotten out of my other career, taken the leap of faith, going into real estate, you know, selling some houses here and there, becoming a team leader there, moving here, Mo's influence. I mean, guys, this is why when we talk about those risks and get comfortable, you know, my kids grew up hearing, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get comfortable with it, people, because if you're not uncomfortable, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You're not striving. You're not taking enough risk. And trust me, I've had a lot of discomfort in my life, and quite frankly, I think I'm going through growing pains right now because I've got a lot of it right now. And we are we not?
Yeah.
Those of you at Keller Williams, are we not going through growing pains with the new system, COVID? What's the new normal? How are we going to, you know, all of that stuff? And all I say is embrace it. I mean, just embrace it, because I always say the harder it is, when I come out the other side, the better it is. And I don't say it all the time, but every once in a while I get a glimpse of reality, just saying, okay, this is really hard. I want to cry every day. It's really a challenge. And yet that means there's going to be some great lesson. So take the risk, ride the ride, you know, do the bungee jumping, you know, do the parachuting, do all those things. Take the risk, because you just never know what happens when you get on the other end.
I was listening this morning when I was running week 5, you guys, can you believe it?
So proud of you.
I was listening to Ben Kenny's most recent podcast, and the one that dropped overnight this morning, whatever. What matters to me is it was right on time for my workout. And it was about relationships and endings. And I was thinking about this today. You know, I left Colorado Springs when I married Steve, and I was sad to leave that area and come here. And just thinking about all of the different endings that I've had in my life, whether it's relationships or employment, that kind of thing. All of those things led me to where I am. And I had no idea when I married Steve and bought a house that my real estate agents would tell me they needed someone to answer the phones, and that I would do that. And then, you know, where I would be a few years after that in getting my real estate license. And then 3 years since that, it's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
And what's so funny is, you know, people talk about when, like in prayer, there's times where I have just begged and pleaded with God for a certain thing. I wanted my current husband's cousin to be the answer to my prayer, and it wasn't. And I was so confused because I fell in love with the entire family. It was like, while you were sleeping, and how could this possibly not be what God wanted for me? And now here I am with Steve in Oklahoma with Keller Williams, which has changed my life, with all of you. And just, there's so many things that I had to part with so that I could say yes to all this. So,
Yeah.
yep. Well, Stephanie, thank you for sharing your story. You know how I feel about you. By the way, I was at Neighborhood Jam this morning with someone else.
Oh, cheater.
Yep.
I love you. Dang it. Anyway, it was great seeing you guys. Thank you so much for letting me be here. I love you guys. This group is incredible. And thank you for pouring into me all these weeks too. I may not be on the live version, but I've not missed one video.
I know. Well, Wednesday is Mo Day, so Heather will post details about that. And thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, Missy. You did great.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.